Bleach trailer has been rent-free in my mind, man. I haven't been able to stop thinking about it because it's like, yo, it's happening. It's real. This is something that's about to take place in 3 months. And with a certain piece of information that was released in the panel with Kubo talking about adding more additional fight sequences that were not in the manga. We are here today to talk about why that is going to end up being the best case scenario for Bleach's 1,000-Year Blood War arc. And because of that, I'm going to need to talk about manga content, manga information. So if you are an anime only for Bleach, thank you for checking out the video, but I do not want you to get spoiled on the insanity that's going to be coming in this arc. So if you are not reading the Bleach manga, or if you have not read the full 686 chapters and the one-shot that follows of Bleach, do not watch this video. I don't want to ruin the experience for you. This is a series that's very special to so many of us. Do not spoil yourself. Go out and read it, and then if you please, come back and check out this video. Or if you're gonna stay anime only, I will see y'all in the future, because I want to talk to the individuals who have read the manga content, because this is extremely exciting information. That being said, if you are still here, I'm going to assume that you have read the 686 chapters of the Bleach manga and the one-shot that follows. So ladies and gentlemen, if you have been a part of the community for any length of time, you know that the main gripe that all of us have with the 1,000-Year Blood War is the battles that we were unable to see. The battles that we all expected to see, and we all had different expectations for the type of stuff that we wanted to see. But there were certain battles, because the fights that we got are legendary. The best fights in the whole series, both in part 1 of Blood War and part 2. Insane stuff, right? Like amazing, amazing battles. But there was some battles, some plot points that were left unresolved. And with these additional fights that Kubo is about to present to us, that in Anime Expo, we were told by Kubo himself that he's going to be working closely with the team to provide us battles that were not in the manga. And what that tells me is going to be a combination of two things. Number one, similar to One Piece's Wano arc, we're going to be having in-canon filler, where we're going to see potentially clashes that we only saw bits and pieces of. Specifically, I'm talking about in part 1 of the Blood War, where there was certain clashes where we got to see the aftermath or certain fighting sequences. It looks like now we'll be able to see more of those battles thanks to in-canon filler, which I am all for. All for. And then, of course, fights that we were unable to see in the manga. Battles, individuals boxing that we were unable to see in the manga. And the very first individuals that popped in my mind, the individuals that I thought for sure at the end of the arc were going to be boxing with the connection to the Everything But the Rain stuff, Juha, and all of that, was Isshin and Ryuken. I think if this is what Kubo is talking about, and he's not talking about just adding more additional fighting sequences to the fights that are already there, if we're talking about fights between individuals that were not able to box there at the end, for me, the biggest opportunity, the biggest missed opportunity in the 1,000-Year Blood War was not having Isshin and Ryuken boxing Juha Bak. Because that, for me, before the Uryu and Ichigo stuff starts popping off there at the very end, the best way we could have transitioned to the final battle with Ichigo and Aizen versus Juha would have been Ryuken and Isshin boxing Juha until Ichigo and Uryu get there to go up in like swimwear. Because this is the thing, right? Isshin and Ryuken, thanks to Everything But the Rain, have so much stake in this battle. There is so much that both of them had to do, and I was like so sure it was the easiest alley-oop ever. And when it didn't happen, I was like, man, what is going on here? Like, we're talking about the same Kubo that gave us back at the end of the Arrancar saga, Isshin popping up, and it was Isshin, Yoruichi, and Kisuke against Aizen in an awesome battle sequence. Like, I was expecting something like that, especially with how deep their connections go. And so the fact that we didn't get it, I was just shocked. So I'm hoping that we get Ishin and Ryukin greatness, man. I really want to see Ryukin pop off, right? Like, these are two individuals that we know are on that level, that we know are legendary status. And I would love to see how their connections, their rivalry, their dynamic would play in a big, massive final battle like that with everything on the line. And so I really hope that we get that. And then, of course, the Espadas, man. You know, we never really got to see anything from Holybell after whenever we saw in chapter 485. That stuff, of course, was resolved later with the light novels. But it's like we never really got to see more of Holybell after that, so I wonder if we're going to get to see more of that from a storytelling standpoint. And then the individuals who were here, like Neliel and Grimjow. Obviously, two very, very popular Espada, two of my favorite Espada. And I would love to see more from them within a 1,000-Year Blood War arc, especially considering how popular they are. Like, this is going to be their opportunity to showcase Grimjow and Neliel at the highest level, throwing extra hands that we were never able to see. And so, really hoping for more Espada content, 110%. And then, of course, the Fullbringers. I'll never forget when that chapter dropped, and it was Ganju and the Fullbringers ready to go up in like swimwear, and then we barely got to have any type of payoff to that. I really hope that the anime gives us the Ganju Fullbringers greatness, because Ganju being a Shiba is going to have a connection to the stuff that's taking place here. And so I really hope whatever happens there with Ganju and with the Fullbringers, we'll be able to see the stuff that we all wanted to see within the manga with those individuals. Now, with all of these battles being introduced, and of course we still have, you know, more Vizard's greatness that we would all love to see. A lot of the captains got their time to shine, so we just want more in-canon filler for them. Like, for me, when it comes to individuals like Kenpachi and like the Kenpachi versus Kenpachi battle, that Unohana greatness, you know, when it comes to Yamamoto versus Juhabak and, you know, the Bazby and Hoshvald stuff, and all of it, right? You know, Kisuke, Yoruichi, and all of these legendary fighting sequences that we got within the 1,000-Year Blood War. All we want is more cool stuff happening in those battles. So what was in the manga was already good enough. So you just give us some more awesome stuff there, put some amazing animation on top, and it's going to be spectacular. You don't really need to add more onto some of that stuff. But there is some battles, like I said, when it comes to those individuals that we were unable to see them really do as much as we all wanted them to do. Those are the individuals that I believe need that type of focus, where we get those extended sequences and or stuff that wasn't even in the manga period, like maybe new enemies, whatever the case may be, in order for them to battle. But the thing is, right, the worry that comes with adding more to the already full plate that is the 1,000-Year Blood War is the pacing. And I don't think we have to worry about that in regards to interrupting the pacing, because, for example, right, I do believe we're going to be getting a lot of these additional in-canon filler sequences for battles in Part 1 of the Blood War, specifically to set up the rematches that happen in Part 2 of the Blood War. So I'll give you a quick example. When I was watching the trailer and I saw Bambietta fighting Komamura, the first thing that I thought of is, you know, Bambietta really is one of the most popular Stern Rider. Of course, one of my favorites. You know, yeah, yes, Bambietta greatness, right? So, and I really love Part 2. Like, that Sajin Komamura versus Bambietta fight at the beginning of Part 2 of the Blood War is one of my favorite fights in the arc. It is an amazing, amazing battle. Just so much emotional weight behind it, and it's really, really good. So what I would like for in that type of work, because the thing is about that first part of the Blood War is it's so intense, it's so fast-paced, that we could afford to give certain pieces of screen time to moments like that to elevate the rematches later on. Because some of those chapters are just annihilation on one side. Like, they go by so quick. Right, especially from like 500 to 500 and like what was it, 14? It's just it's intense, man. It's going from dun 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 dun, and so to fill in some of the sequences there, and of course earlier on in the whenever they first arrive, which I believe is chapter 494, from there until 500, also setting up all the stuff there. It's just what I want them to do with this, and the reason why I think it's going to work for Part 1, especially when it comes to the in-canon filler fighting sequences, is that we'll be able to have the the same intensity, the same insanity, the same awesome, like, oh my goodness, we're getting destroyed right now type of vibe whenever we get to see the individuals actually boxing and losing. So when we see like Bambietta and Komura, Bambietta just putting in the work, when we see the Kangdu stuff, when we get to see Asnot laying the smackdown on Byakuya, when we get to see all of the insanity, and then Kenpachi comes up and like Somura and starts boxing, it's like, there's so many opportunities to fill in the blanks that the manga left for us and still keep the same intensity, still keep the same pacing. And that's why I think part 1 is going to be elevated by these sequences. And then, in that same regard, part 2 of the Thousand Year Blood War is going to be elevated because now we're going to have the context of how it is that they all were losing the first part of their battles and or the stuff they need to take care of in order to come back and win in the second half of the Blood War. We're going to have those established connections. And like I said, the thing that really brought that into my mind when I was watching the trailer was the Bambietta and Komura stuff. Like, yes, we're going to have that part 1 battle between the two of them, and then of course when we cut back to them in within the part 2 of the Blood War, we're gonna be like, okay, we're going up in like somewhere, and the rivalries have been established, the matchups have been established, that emotional connection is there, and it's gonna be really exciting stuff because when you look back at the Blood War, like I said, it's such an amazing arc with so many great moments, and all we wanted to see was just more. That's all we wanted to see. That was all of our biggest problems with the ending, was that we felt that everything ended too quickly without us getting more answers, more of these battles, and more stuff like that. Because the thing is, right, that final battle, I don't even want them to touch it. Like, I just want them to add more. Ichigo and Aizen versus Juha is like the most epic fight ever. I just want them to add more. Add more in-canon filler to that amazing fight, and it'll be the greatest fight, right? Like, it'll just be so good. So, give us more of that, and of course, all of the greatness that follows before that. More Royal Guard greatness. The Royal Guard, for a lot of people, was a major disappointment, and I think one way that we can patch that up is by giving them another opportunity to really shine and showcase their greatness within this arc, and that is something that in-canon filler and or content that was never shown off in the manga can provide for us, right? And so there's a lot of great opportunities to flesh out certain characters that were not fleshed out in the manga while not necessarily interrupting the pacing, because we remember back with the original Bleach anime adaptation, they were animating a lot of chapters at a time for that stuff, right? Like, a lot of chapters would be adapted into a single episode with the original adaptation. And with them bringing it back, I'm going to assume they want to keep the same type of intensity, the same type of awesome stuff we've all expected from Bleach for so many years, as we see with Shiro Sakiusu's soundtrack, the amazing animation. It's like they realize how much Bleach means to so many people, and they're going to provide the best quality possible. And doing that from a storytelling standpoint is going to mean having to add these in-canon filler sequences for these fights, as well as adding more fights that were never there in the manga. And then with that being said, the final thing I want to say today is, with Kubo involved, and of course, I'm going to assume that what this means is that after chapter 686 is adapted, we're also going to get the one-shot and whatever comes further beyond after the one-shot. And so, because of that, I believe that we could even get hints into the stuff that's going to take place in the one-shot and even further beyond within the Blood War as well. And since they had the light novel to feed off of and all that, I do wonder if they'll play around with that stuff too. But even just going just strictly manga, I do believe that we could have the opportunity to see either, certain things that, like when we get to chapter 685 and 686, we could start building the stepping stones towards one shot and beyond type of stuff, right? And I think that's going to be a very exciting time for all of us whenever that stuff starts to get animated, because we're going to be like, oh man, here's a hint, or here's a hint, or here's a hint, right? And it's just going to be an exciting time. But of course, like I said, to me, this is the best case scenario. I don't think any of us have to worry about pacing, like I said, when it comes to the adding more stuff like this, because we all know how fast Bleach's pacing has always been. So adding more stuff that all of us wanted to see anyway is just going to add on to the to the greatness of this arc, right? And I really do think that's the only missing piece. I think the Thousand Year Blood War for me has the peak of this series. It has so many legendary moments, so many legendary battles, so many great character moments. All we were missing was tying up loose ends and seeing battles that we all wanted to see that we didn't see, right? And so with that now happening within the anime, I do believe the Thousand Year Blood War will be elevated. I think by the time we finish the adaptation of chapter 686, we're all going to be looking at the Thousand Year Blood War in a more positive light. And for a lot of us, it's already an extremely positive light because it provided us, like I said, the peaks of this series. And it's just going to be extremely exciting, man. I cannot wait for so many of these episodes that are going to be dropping, especially after that chapter 512 preview that we got, which is, I love that chapter. You know, and the more that I thought about it, I was like, man, which chapter do I really love more? Do I love chapter 512 more, chapter like 542, The Blade is Me? Like, which one do I love? Like, there's so many amazing chapters in this arc that I just cannot wait for them to adapt. And, but that's a topic for another day, man. Let me know what you guys think about this news. What battles and what fights would you like to see? What characters would you like to see continue to get more shine in the Thousand Year Blood War? Now that we know we're going to be getting additional fighting sequences that were not in the manga. Y'all know how I always clown Shinji on this channel, but if there's one thing that I want to do again, I want to be a Shinji fanboy again. I want to be a Shinji fan again. I love me some Shinji, man. I just didn't like the way that Kubo handled Shinji. You know, going into from the end of the Arrancar saga until the Thousand Year Blood War. And so, for me, I want to see some Shinji greatness. I really, really want to see additional Shinji greatness. So give me some more Visor's greatness, man. And of course, the Espada. Like, I love Neliel. I love Grimjaw. Let me see them box. Let me see them go in. And of course, like I said, Ryuken and Ishin. For the love of all that is Flagners, that is an alley-oop. That is a free hype session for all of us. That is a freebie, man. Just give us 5 minutes, 10, it doesn't have to be a whole episode. Give us 10 minutes of Ryuken and Ishin and their dynamics on screen as they're even, they don't have to box, just converse with Juha Bach, man. Like, that is a freebie, man. You know, so to me, I really hope that ends up being the case, and so many other things. But like I said, let me know what y'all think in the comments section down below. Any additional things that you would like to see, any characters that you would like to see continue to get more shine. And until the Blood War comes out, man, we're going to continue to make these videos, continue to discuss what we want to see, because there's a lot of stuff that that they could potentially add to just elevate this arc to levels that none of us could have foreseen. And it's going to truly make the best version of Thousand Year Blood War. So I will see you all next time. Have an awesome day. Bleach is back. Feels so good to be talking about the series. I'll see y'all, man.